Welcome to This Explainer. Okay, so today we are going to completely shatter your preconceived notions about language. If you think language is just about, humans talking, texting, or writing books, well, definitely prepare to have your mind blown. We're unpacking this really fascinating source on the layer tipping model, and it literally forces us to zoom way, way out and look at the universe on a massive cosmic scale.
So here is our roadmap for the explainer. We're going to hit 6 main points. Redefining what language is, nature's discontinuous tipping layers, how biology is already a language, meaning, grounding in subjects, symbols, dopamine, and civilization, and finally, capital, AI, and tomorrow. Let's get right into it.
Section 1. Redefining what language is and what it really is. To start off, we absolutely have to unlearn everything we think we know about words and speech. Most theories out there just assume humans invented language to communicate with each other, right? But this source, it flips the script entirely. It asks this incredibly profound Socratic question. Why did nature create language in the first place? It demands that we stop looking at communication as just some quirky human trait and start seeing it as a fundamental natural phenomenon.
Traditionally, we've had this very human-centric view, that language is just a tool, kind of like a hammer, that we just happen to invent. But the source introduces a radical new perspective. It argues that language is actually the self-organizing principle of all natural history. It isn't just something we use, it's the fundamental way nature builds itself from the ground up across literally billions of years.
To really grasp this, the source defines language through 4 minimum conditions. First, there has to be a difference. Second, a system that can interpret that difference. Third, a resulting state transition. And fourth, memory, meaning the system actually remembers the change. So whenever a system reads a difference, changes its state, and remembers it, boom, language is occurring. Think of a simple home thermostat. It reads a temperature difference, turns on the heat, and maintains that new state. Even at that incredibly basic mechanical level, a primitive form of language is happening. No words spoken, no brain cells firing. It's wild.
All right, moving on to Section 2, nature's discontinuous tipping layers, or discontinuous nature. Let's see how this fundamental concept of language builds across deep time.
Think of these layers like a set of Matryoshka nesting dolls. The source argues that when one layer reaches a certain level of stability, it basically tips into a completely new space. The physical layer of atoms tips into the chemical layer of molecules, which then tips into life and biology, and that goes all the way up through human behavior, symbols, and now AI. The big takeaway here is that each layer operates on completely different rules of communication, but they all stack inside one another perfectly. Biology doesn't break the rules of chemistry, right? It just adds a whole new language layer right on top of it.
The absolutely crucial point here is that evolution isn't just about physical stuff slowly getting more complex over time. As the source puts it, natural history is the discontinuous generation of language spaces. So it's a series of massive, rapid leaps into entirely new realms of interpretation. Once a new language space opens up, reality starts operating by completely new rules.
Which brings us to Section 3, biology is already a language, reading and writing code. When we apply this framework, we start to see that our own biology is reading and writing code all the time.
See, life isn't just a random chemical soup. It's a highly coordinated network of what the source calls signifiers. A signifier is really just a signal that induces a state change. Think about your own body for a second. Insulin is a signifier telling your cells to regulate blood sugar. Pain is a signifier screaming at you to pull your hand away from a hot stove. This means that even a single cell reading a chemical gradient is engaging in a primitive form of language. Biology itself is just this vast, invisible communication network.
Section 4. Meaning, grounding, and subjects, real-world weight. Okay, so we know these biological signals exist, but how do they actually mean something in the real world?
Well, the answer is grounding. For a signal to actually matter, it has to hit an unavoidable resistance, things like death, time, or the physical rules of gravity. The source calls this otherness. These external resistances are what give abstract signals their real-world weight and consequences. Without this grounding, a signal is literally just empty noise. It absolutely needs to hit the solid wall of reality to mean something.
Let's connect this abstract theory to your actual daily life. A feeling of hunger isn't just a random physical sensation. It's grounded in the absolute, unavoidable necessity of your physical survival. A paper dollar bill, that grounds to your actual possibilities and power within society. Even a simple test score isn't just a number on a page, it's a signifier deeply grounded in the reality of your future career path.
the meaning always comes from the inescapable real-world consequence. Because of this constant grounding, the source argues something pretty surprising. Human intention isn't some mystical spirit we're just born with. Instead, we become acting subjects because our biology evolved complex structures to predict these grounded realities. Simply put, your intentions are just nature's way of predicting what happens next. You feel the intent to eat because your biology is busy predicting the reality of starvation. Make sense?
Now for Section 5, Symbols, Dopamine, and Civilization, the Human Layer. This brings us to where we live today, where the biological systems we just talked about get completely hijacked by abstract symbols.
Consider how your dopamine system has evolved. Dopamine evaluates future possibilities. For our ancient ancestors, its triggers were grounded in raw physical survival. Finding food or seeking reproduction. But today, we get dopamine hits from money, test scores, social reputation, and of course, a like on social media. Our biological reactions have shifted completely away from raw survival to react entirely to abstract symbols. Basically, our biology has been co-opted by the symbolic layer.
All these abstract symbols together make up what the source calls the corpus of civilization. This includes our daily words, academia, our laws, our culture. Now, we humans produce this language corpus, but fascinatingly, the corpus in turn produces us. It shapes how we think, how we act, and exactly what triggers our dopamine. Civilization is simply the continuous, massive self-reproduction of these interconnected symbolic systems over generations.
Finally, Section 6, Capital, AI and Tomorrow, the next tipping point. This is where we project this entire tipping model onto our current global systems to see exactly where we might be headed.
According to the model, capital acts as a completely new layer. The source suggests that capital is partially a superorganism. Sure, it lacks human consciousness, but it meets all the language criteria we discussed earlier. It reads environments, induces human behavior, and maintains its structure to reproduce itself. It literally utilizes humans to multiply and spread in the exact same way that early biology utilized simple chemistry millions of years ago. And we're living through this exact paradigm shift regarding technology today. On one side, we have carbon-based language. That's us humans grounded in our physical bodies and biology. On the other side, artificial intelligence acts as a silicon-based language system. Right now, it is actively feeding on and digesting all the data, all the text, all the images produced by our carbon-based civilization. So I'll leave you with this provocative final thought from the source. If the silicon layer stops relying on humans, if AI actually finds its own reality-altering grounding, what happens to us? Are we currently witnessing the birth of a completely new natural history layer? If nature is really just the endless generation of new language spaces, what does its next evolution look like when it no longer needs us to read the signals? It's a profound thought to carry with you today. Thanks for exploring with us.